Welcome. Update on coronavirus and where the state's at. A very important inflection point as we head into Labor Day weekend, a time that we need to build on our successes and hopefully continue to move forward. It all depends on the choices that people of all ages make, of course, over Labor Day weekend about what kind of recreation you partake in. But, of course, particular focus on younger Coloradans, college students, and others, which is why we have President Kennedy here and college students from other universities in the state, really to talk about that responsibility that we have over Labor Day weekend to make sure that that's not a setback. 268 new positive cases today. This past month has been a good month in Colorado. Earlier this week, we hit our lowest percentage positivity yet, around 2%. And to put things in perspective, back in March, we were seeing positivity rates of 15 to 20%. And some of our other states in our region are seeing very high 15 to 20% ranges now. Iowa, 18%, Kansas, 16%, Nevada, 15%. Some of the highest states in the nation, like Alabama, are seeing 30% positivity rates. That's a function of not having enough testing. We have several free, quick, and easy testing sites available to anybody. Here in Colorado, you don't need a doctor's note. You don't even need symptoms. If you think you've been exposed to the virus, you come in a week after you think that exposure occurred. It doesn't do any good to come in a day or two after. You'll still be negative even if you're going to contract it. But if you have any flu-like symptoms, go to one of our free, quick, and easy testing centers, Aurora Sports Park, Water World in Federal Heights, the Pepsi Center in Colorado Springs, Citadel Mall outside of JCPenney, in Pueblo County Fairgrounds, and in Grand Junction, Mesa County Fairgrounds. These are generally open all day during the day on Saturdays. Check the covid19.colorado.gov site for the exact hours, but you'll be in and out in 15 minutes. The results will be texted to you. I was tested at Citadel in Colorado Springs 2 days ago. I got my results yesterday, a day later. I'm negative, which I'm grateful for, of course. But usually it's about 2 days, but it can be 1 day results, at the most 3 days. But they're hitting about 2 days with the results, and that's really a big part of our success so far. It's really a remarkable feat. It's a testament to every Coloradan. Of course, our doctors and our nurses, but frankly, every Coloradan who's been careful, who's worn a mask, that we are able to resume more of our normal lives, and that's why this coming weekend is so important. We are doing better than many states, of course, but we know that this is a very volatile crisis. The virus is still here. 200-300 people a day get it in our state, sometimes more. That's well within the range of our hospital capacity, but it is lurking, and the minute our responsible and smart behaviors let up, the minute it'll come roaring back. And I'm really stressing all this because I want to make sure that people are encouraged to stay the course over Labor Day weekend. What you have been doing has been working. You've been really smart about wearing masks, smart about avoiding large social gatherings, washing your hands regularly, avoiding large crowds. But these numbers that we're seeing in Colorado, which have allowed for more and more normalcy, including the resumption of our colleges, more and more schools coming back, all of this good news could be wiped out if people are reckless and careless over a long holiday weekend in some sort of premature celebration over a victory over the virus when we have not yet achieved that victory. Speaking of the kind of reckless behavior we worry about, I want to address the disappointing, inexcusable actions of a small minority of students, including several fraternities at CU Boulder, that contrary to what their own national fraternity organizations were said that they should do, still held illegal large parties over the weekend. And I know that the vast majority of students and the vast majority of the Greek system are doing the right thing. Many of our higher education students in Colorado care deeply about the community. They know their actions affect themselves and their loved ones. And to the vast majority of college and community college students across the state who are taking precautions, I want to say thank you as your governor for doing the right thing. But unfortunately, it only takes a few bad apples, a few bad decisions to set a whole community back. I was talking to President Kennedy. Already in several other states, several peer institutions of CU have had to cancel and go online. We don't want that to happen in Colorado. We want our return to campus and return to classes to be successful, And we want to keep moving that direction with more and more school districts coming back. More than half the school districts in the state have already resumed in-person instruction, and I visited several, including Sheridan and Center and Falcon Fort Carson. But there are others that are planning on coming back in the next few weeks, and it's really important that that is successful, and our behavior over Labor Day weekend is going to set the tone in that regard. I'm supportive by the efforts of Boulder's Interfraternity Council on the Hill to really go after some of the very few bad actors with fines or other sanctions. And I hope that students across the state, young people across the state, hear me loud and clear. This is not a joke. People are dying across the country. In Colorado, we've lost nearly 2,000 of our fellow Coloradans to this virus, many more hospitalized for periods of weeks. So over Labor Day weekend, for goodness sakes, please have compassion, take this seriously, act responsibly. We need to continue to build upon this progress that we've made. Now is not the time to party. There'll be plenty of time to party in months and years ahead. There's plenty of safe recreational opportunities to have fun Labor Day weekend. Rather than going to a party with a large group of friends, go out to dinner with 5 friends. Go on a hike or a walk, enjoy our beautiful outdoors with a small number of people. The sum total of all those individual decisions that Coloradans make is really going to determine the trajectory of this pandemic in Colorado. I'm confident that Coloradans will continue to take the right path and choose the right thing, and I'm proud to introduce the president of the University of Colorado System, Mark Kennedy.
Well, thank you, Governor Polis, not just for bringing us here together today, but for the great work that you and your team are doing to address this pandemic. The University of Colorado has 4 campuses, and we alone have plenty to deal with. I can't imagine that dealing with the entire state is a much more complicated and a considerably greater scope. There are 1,001 details, but we're fortunate to have you and thousands of others working on them. But the state and the university have plenty in common for us to work on as we address this pandemic, and the number one thing is that we all share a desire to keep our communities safe and healthy as possible. Both the state and CU have done plenty of careful planning, and we are taking prudent steps to minimize the impact of COVID-19. We're testing, doing contact tracing, sanitizing, and taking dozens of other steps to keep our campus safe. We are working closely with local and state health authorities. Even with that, we have seen an increase in the number of cases on our campuses. We have communicated to our students that we all need to do our part and do what we can to make the progress that we've made continue. What we all can do is simple. Wear a mask, wash your hands, limit large gatherings, be smart, be aware, and be considerate of others. Several of those are probably things your mother told you, except for wearing the mask. To say the pandemic has disrupted our lives is an understatement. The ways we work, learn, interact, enjoy ourselves have all changed. The normal happy occasion of the 3-day holiday has also changed. It's understandably tempting for people to revert to how we've always done Labor Day or any other holiday. But this year I join with the governor and our student speakers in asking that all Coloradans, including CU students, do the right thing this holiday weekend and beyond to be safe, to join us in doing our parts to put this pandemic behind us. Then we can enjoy brighter days and traditional holidays in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Look, and I know it might be people's preference to have fun with a large house party with 80, 100 people, but you know what? You can have fun with 5 or 6 of your best friends too, and there'll be plenty of time to do those larger events in the future. But this Labor Day weekend, just have fun with a small group of friends, and it'll make all the difference of preventing the spread. If going one person, it might go to 2 or 3 rather than from 1 to 40 to 150. And this thing just, especially where people have congregate living like in our college dorms, can spread very quickly. I know that for many of our college students, this year is not everything you wanted it to be. But there are others across the world making even greater sacrifices than we're asking of you, and we're simply asking, don't party, be safe responsibly, have fun, small groups, outdoors, And I know it's disappointing that for this semester you might not be having all of those college experiences, those non-academic college experiences that you expected or you wanted. But they'll be back. They'll be back. I know it's frustrating. It's unfair. But many people are paying a much harder price from this virus than that of which we ask of you. I wish it weren't so, but it's the world we have. And I know that you're up to the task, and I think we can get through this Labor Day weekend without a setback. I want to turn it, we have a couple students that we brought here. I want to turn it over to David Olguin. He graduated from Front Range. Now he is at University of Colorado, Denver, very active as a student advisor as well in policy around education. And I'm proud to turn it over to David.
Hello. Good afternoon. My name is David Olguin. I'm a scholar studying at the School of Public Affairs at CU Denver. Let me begin by acknowledging that Black and brown communities in Colorado are suffering disproportionately from the effects of COVID. Many members of our community are struggling to put food on their tables, keep roofs over their heads, and don't have access to health care. We, the students, must acknowledge that we are in positions of privilege, that we have access to higher education and the agency to become the leaders and change makers that are needed in our local communities and across Colorado. I, like many of you, was unsure about attending school during this pandemic and what that might look like. I have a compromised immune system, and I was worried about being exposed to COVID on campus and then possibly exposing my family. I was also concerned about the quality of education and being successful in this new learning format, which is different and it comes with its own set of challenges. So you know I'm doing great. As a student advisor to the Colorado Commission of Higher Education, I have the opportunity to speak with student leaders across the state. They've shared that students do feel safe attending in-person classes where they're available. They've also noted that many students are successful in utilizing wraparound services and accessing CARES Act funding while adapting to online and remote classes. We can all go back to school thanks to the hard work from our school leaders, the state, and ultimately Coloradoans who have worked together and done their part by keeping their distance and wearing masks. This has not been easy, but it ensures that we can slowly get back to doing the things that we love. I believe in building community, and as a new member of the CU family, I'm craving interactions with my peers. The same interactions that maybe many of our first-year students want to have. Bonding and building community through Zoom and other platforms is challenging, and it's not the same. But these are the things that we have to do to keep safe. Social distancing, wearing a mask, avoiding large crowds and gatherings is part of the success plan. We must remember that the things that we do today have consequences beyond ourselves. COVID is certainly bigger than me, and it is bigger than you. I hope that you will act responsibly and safely over this holiday weekend. Remember that you hold the ability to protect your community. Protect your professors, your siblings, your abuela, your tío, your fellow students, their families. Please be safe because you are the future warriors of social, educational, and environmental justice. Your state and nation need you to combat systemic racism and injustice. We need you to create systems that are equitable for all people. So do your part, wear a mask, social distance, avoid large events, go outside, go hiking, but please wear a mask. Protect and respect each other. And in closing, please register to vote this November. Governor Polis, I thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, David. We have another student where this is really peer-to-peer messages. I know, as are excellent role models in setting the way and being safe and responsible. Deja Brooks is an undergraduate. In fact, she's the undergraduate student body vice president at University of Denver. She's also a member of a Delta Zeta sorority, and she has a very important message for her undergraduate peers across the state.
First, thank you, Governor Polis, for this opportunity to address my peers. And good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to the fighters, the excited, the worried, and the everything in between. Our generation has lived through a time of constant unease. We were born around the time before or after 9/11. We lived our childhood through the economic crash of 2008 and 2009, and now we're experiencing our college careers during a pandemic. My name is Deja Brooks, and as the undergraduate student body vice president at the University of Denver, I am very aware that each of our backgrounds are unique. For some of you, this is the very first time that anyone in your family has attended college, and you look forward to every moment of that college experience. And for others, you may have heard amazing stories from your parents and grandparents. But to each and every one of you, no matter how you got where you are today, I extend my sincerest congratulations. This may not have been an easy trek for you. But despite our journeys being different, we're all living through a time where our paths are colliding. We are the leaders of tomorrow, but we must embrace the challenges of today and lead by example. When we all think of college, we think of meeting new people, discovering new ideas, pushing ourselves to excel, and of course, those late night talks with friends and early morning coffee runs. However, during this time, we must do all of this at a distance. As a proud member of Delta Zeta sorority and the African Students United at DU, I completely understand wanting to see your friends and having a good time while in school, because that's the college experience that we've all heard, dreamed, and lived through in the past. But COVID is not something any of us wanted nor expected. But we will bounce back, because that is the Colorado spirit and the reason we live here. And whether you're like me and whether you're like me and moved to Colorado for college, or whether you were born here, we will bounce back. But we can only do this by following social distancing guidelines, wearing our mask, washing our hands, and being socially responsible. Because despite being socially distant today, following protocols will bring us closer together tomorrow. We are a generation that is aware of our mental health, and we embrace the fact that things will not always be easy. However, as we embark on this journey, it will bring a roller coaster of emotions and clutch onto each and every emotion, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful, because they, just like our time in college, are preparing us for the leaders that we attend college to be. And if you've taken away nothing from what I've said, just remember this: despite the fact that we are facing a challenging time, we will overcome it. And just like Maya Angelou said, you may not be able to control the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. So with that, please remember to wear your mask, practice social distancing as we approach this holiday weekend and the school year. Doing so will not only protect you, but those around you. And we all want to get back to enjoying that college experience that we all remember and want to get to. So please do your part. And with that, thank you and have a great school year.
Thank you, Deja, for your eloquent words, and David as well. Labor Day weekend is a great time to be outdoors. Anytime is a great time to be outdoors in Colorado, but it's an especially safer place to be during the pandemic. And I know a lot of Coloradans have great plans to enjoy our vast, beautiful outdoor areas. You know, our beautiful outdoor areas are a big reason many of us live in and love Colorado. We are blessed with 22 million acres of public land, 4 national parks, 42 state parks, where we'll be opening in our 43rd later this year, 350 state wildlife areas, 11 national forests, 2 national grasslands, not to mention county open space, municipal open space across our incredible state. So as you're out, instead of inside over this Labor Day weekend, make sure we're also recreating in a smart and responsible way. That means no fires during a month where we're continuing to battle several tragic fires across our state, and conditions are in an unprecedented way extremely hot and dry. As we head to the mountains, lakes, rivers, we're going to be safe about it, we're going to be smart about it, and you'll have a lot of fun. Consider going off the beaten trail. Comanche National Grasslands down by La Junta, incredible place. You know, some of the places that you like are going to be a little bit more crowded. Go to enjoy places you haven't been before. Within a few hour drive, we have some of the most incredible public lands and outdoor areas in the entire world right here in Colorado. We have Park Ranger Michelle Subert. I asked her to join us to really talk about some of the best practices for outdoor recreating this weekend, and I want to turn it over to Ranger Subert.
Thank you, Governor Polis. As people head out to live life outside, we will always want them to remember 7 key principles for responsible recreation. Their first one, have a plan before you go. Know what equipment you need, know the weather, know where you're going. Stay on the trails. It might seem like a good idea to go get that extra special picture of that moose, but let's protect our wildlife and stay on the trails. Trash your trash. You want to make sure if you have dog waste, have a doggy bag. Leave what you find. We have lots of great stuff in our state parks and open areas, but leave what you find. Be careful with fire and abide by all the fire restrictions. Respect our wildlife. And lastly, be kind and inclusive to others who are also enjoying the great outdoors. The state belongs to all of us, and it's our responsibility to care for Colorado. So be safe out there, be healthy, wear your mask, social distance, and have a great time in the vast outdoors.
Thank you so much, Ranger Subert. And people, you can have fires in developed fire pits, and if you're grilling on a grill, it's the open pit fires without the developed pits where you can, and no fireworks as well. And shooting should be done with conventional ammunition, none of the stuff that I don't understand, but I guess it can cause fires. What are the ones they're not supposed to use if they're shooting?
The tracer round.
Yeah, don't use it. That's what started the one over by, is it
Cherry
Gypsum?
Creek State.
Yeah, there's a big fire last year.
Yeah.
So anyway, be careful, be smart. We're dry, we're hot, but it's a great time to be outdoors, to be safe. We also, along with our iconic, state wild areas, this is our current driver's license. We want to do better. We're doing an Iconic Colorado contest. It's iconiccolorado.org. It's really our Department of Revenue Motor Vehicles Division is launching an artwork contest to transform our driver's license or identification card into a real work of art that all Coloradans can be proud to carry wherever they go. So if you have some ideas and have some time, you could win enormous bragging rights by having your iconic art in the hands of millions of Coloradans, giving us all great pride in our state ID. Check out iconiccolorado.org for that information. So I want to wish everybody a happy Labor Day, a safe Labor Day. Let this be part of Colorado's path forward in the pandemic, not a step back. And that will really be up to all of us. We want and we value institutions like CU and DU and others and CSU to continue forward and have a successful academic year. And all that we're asking is that they're taking every precaution professionally. I mean, in their classrooms and the places they oversee, they're doing a fantastic job. All of our institutions of higher education. But what it'll come down to is how people behave over Labor Day weekend and beyond, and whether people are going to large parties and get-togethers, which are super spreader events, or whether people are just enjoying the outdoors and enjoying themselves socially in small groups, 5-6 people. I know that you're going to make the right decision, and I know that we'll be able to move forward. We'll end, before we get to the public questions, I'll just do a few from Facebook here. Just really about testing. The first one was, let's see here. Where'd they go? Well, there was a lot of questions about testing. So they're two of nature. Some people are, how do we get it? How do we get tested? When do I get tested? Others have kind of a misperception about testing that somehow that leads to more cases or to keeping things closed longer. It really is the opposite. The more people get tested, the lower the positivity rate, the faster things reopen and the safer things are, because we're catching a higher percentage of the cases early and being able to act to prevent the spread and making sure that those who were exposed isolate before they're contagious. And rather than having closures or large-scale quarantines, it's just the people who are directly affected. So I'll just list the sites and their hours quickly. You don't need an appointment. You don't need a doctor's note. You don't need any money or anything else. You'll be in and out in 15 minutes. Aurora Sports Park, 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Citadel Mall, Colorado Springs, Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Waterworld in Federal Heights, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., 7 days a week. Mesa County Fairgrounds in Grand Junction, Tuesday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. And Pueblo, Colorado State Fair expanded their hours to Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., and every other Saturday, 10 a.m. To 7 p.m. In addition to these large-scale testing sites, there are community testing sites across our state. Go to covid19.colorado.gov to find one that is near you that you'll be able to utilize. And the more Coloradans are doing that, the lower our positivity rate is, the faster we move forward, the quicker we contain the spread. CU has an excellent early warning system around the sewage that allowed them to isolate potential outbreaks even earlier and have a testing surge for those in dorms where there might have been positive cases. So on the official side, our institutions of higher ed, our public schools are really doing everything that they can. And it really comes down to our behavior, your behavior in your private capacity on your own, especially over Labor Day weekend, but also in the coming weeks and months. So I want to wish everybody a happy and meaningful Labor Day weekend. Enjoy yourselves in our great outdoors. Wear a mask around others. Avoid large crowds. Wash your hands regularly. We are in this together, and it's really up to all of us of all ages, 18 and 86, to be responsible and disciplined to get through this pandemic and continue to move forward in Colorado. Thank you.
Governor, you talked a lot about partying and why that shouldn't happen on college campuses. Colorado College switched to online only for most of its students after a few outbreaks, and those weren't cases that were linked to parties. So I wonder if we're just learning that college and coronavirus can't go hand in hand. Similar to bars and nightclubs, as you said before, we just haven't figured out how to safely do that, and I was hoping, Mr. Kennedy, you could also address that.
Yeah, and I'll give it to President Kennedy. The unique challenge around colleges is dorm living and residential living. So we've already seen in congregate living settings, in senior centers, the impact this virus can have. Now, that's a demographic that is far more at risk of hospitalization and death than college-age students. But we know that when you have congregate living, it's harder to keep the virus in abeyance. Not impossible. We've had much more success in our senior living facilities this month than we did 4 months ago. And a big part of that effective response is testing and preventing cases from entering dorms and congregate living. That's why CU, CSU have really been leaders in providing the testing level that they need to prevent large-scale outbreaks before they occur, including the early surveillance and monitoring through the sewage system. So President Kennedy will be able to talk a lot about those protocols, but I would certainly say that the two, in addition to partying, the dorm life piece is the big risk factor, but we're able to do more about the dorm life piece on the official side. The partying are individual decisions made by individual students that are off campus usually. That's why it's so challenging. We're doing a lot on the dorm side. I'll turn it over to President Kennedy.
I would just say there's no doubt that we need to continue to watch the facts on the grounds and keep in close contact with public health professionals and respond accordingly. But I echo what the governor is saying. The solution is early testing, isolation, tracing, and making sure that we're catching it as early in the process as we can. So the wastewater treatment tracing allows us to have an earlier look at it than we would have otherwise caught. So being able to determine that a couple of dorms and be able to isolate who those dorms are, and within 24 hours, hopefully get every student, have them tested with our saliva test so that we can find those students that may have coronavirus and isolate them and trace who they've had contact with. With that process, we hope we can keep it under control through the whole semester, but of course, we'll be responding to facts as they go, but testing, isolation, and tracing is the solution to keeping our students on campus.
And the reason that it's so important is really particular to this virus. It's a very sneaky, insidious virus. Incubation period, it can be 5 to 10 days after you're exposed before you develop symptoms. And after you develop symptoms, it's usually another 8 to 10 days before some people require hospitalization. It worsens. No, people don't generally require hospitalization in their first day or 2 or 3. It either gets better or it gets worse. And for those whom it gets worse, so that's usually 15 to 20 days after exposure. So if you don't catch it early, before people are actually hospitalized, you could have 250 people have it, right? Because during that whole 15-day period, people could be getting it versus getting it early and preventing that spread. So because it takes a while for symptoms to develop and then another week for those who need to be hospitalized, it needs to be caught through that detection mechanism. And in our dorms, that includes the identification through the sewage, the testing surge, and then early and quick action. So hopefully when it works, and we hope it does in most cases, it might go from 1 to 3 or 5 people, but not to 250. We catch it before that happens.
Hello, Governor Polis. This is Vinny Jr. at Bloomberg News and Network. I have a question for Deja and David, President Andy and Fireman. What kind of risky or dangerous or absent-minded behavior are you seeing on campus? Wash your hands, not bring your masks on, or we, talking along the lines of polluting an animal. Good much.
Oh, can you repeat yourself? The sound was a little bit off. We lost some of the sound. Repeat the question one more time.
Let me try this again. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay. This is Vinny Belcher at Bloomberg News in Denver. And I have a question for Deja and David, but also Governor Ewan can answer. What kind of behavior are you seeing on campus? Is it confined to the innocent mistake people not washing their hands, or is it something like John Belushi in an animal? Thank you very much.
Okay, well, I think our students picked that up. Go ahead, Deja.
Thank you. I think I got what you're asking based on the bits that we could hear. So the University of Denver, we haven't started classes yet. We actually haven't had students completely move in yet. But some of the things that, talking to my peers, that we are more worried about is not the washing of hands and wearing of masks, because that is something that we are all very aware we've been doing it, not only for the last 6 months, but also washing hands is something our mothers told us, like President said. So with that being the case, I think that it's going to be extremely important for students to remember that the main reason for us to do this is so that we are containing it and not spreading it. As a student, I think the main reason that I fear going back to campus is that contamination period, that wants to say, okay, I want to be here, but I want to protect myself and I want to protect my friends. I don't think that the fear is, oh, I'm not going to remember to wear my mask, because I don't know if anyone's been to the University of Denver campus, but you have signs everywhere. People definitely remember, and you definitely remember to wash your hands. It's more of a wanting to make sure that as a student, am I doing everything that I can to protect myself, but am I also protecting those around me?
David?
Yeah, I would agree with Deja. I think if any of the conversations that I've had with other students, I think that there's been concerns about students not properly wearing masks or that they're gathering too closely together. But, yeah.
President Kennedy?
I would just say it's a variety of above in terms of when we do have cases, but I think in most cases, if you traced it back, had everybody done what we're saying to do, those cases would not have occurred. So that's why the message we're giving here is so important.
And from the room, go ahead.
Governor, I know you said that testing is really the important thing to be doing here on college campuses. We know smaller rural higher education institutions such as Adams State University aren't able to afford COVID-19 testing. What is the state doing to address some of these more smaller rural institutions who can't afford these resources?
Yeah, we know that many higher education institutions are under-resourced in this area. We're working with them to be as responsive as we can to increase their testing capabilities. Many of our universities are spearheading their own testing protocols, and some of the protocols that have been developed by CSU and CU are much more economically feasible, meaning the cost per test might be in the $5, $10 range instead of the $100 range, and these are rapidly being rolled out. In fact, CU is already administering a test probably with their own internal cost, I would hope, probably in the $5 to $10 range or so. And we will be working to make these available across our state, including to our rural educational institutions. Our plan is to support innovation, cheaper, faster tests, and really fast track that to get it into the field, including at our community and rural community colleges and colleges. Telephone?
Hi, this is Joe Vaccarelli from Denver 7. Governor, what is your reaction to the CDC issuing a halt on evictions, and how does Colorado intend to apply this? And is the state looking into anything that would help landlords during this period?
The order has not yet been finalized nor officially published, so we're not able to assess what it means yet. It's more of a press release or concept level at this point. So until we see what the particulars are, it's hard for us to assess whether this can help Colorado tenants or whether it's empty words and empty promises. So we look forward to that process. We're working on short-term, medium, and long-term solutions on housing. We recently announced our housing task force. We're also providing tenants additional time and a right to cure for a 30-day period if they're slightly late on their rent.
Hello, Governor. I'm Jesus from Noticias Univisión. Governor, in Spanish, los CDC pidieron a los estados prepararse para una posible distribución de las vacunas a principios del mes de noviembre. ¿Qué plan tendría usted teniendo en cuenta de que los reportes de vacunación son bajos para otras enfermedades aquí en el estado?
¿En qué fecha?
En noviembre llegarían en algunos estados. ¿Cómo nos prepararíamos nosotros aquí en Colorado?
Sí. El palabra en español es vacuno. Vacuna, sí. Todos tenemos esperanza que vamos a obtener vacuno efectivo pronto. No tenemos suficiente información para saber la fecha exacta, pero tal vez noviembre, diciembre, enero. Y sí, ya estamos preparando un sistema de distribución para la vacuna y vamos a ser preparado cualquier fecha. Lo es una posibilidad efectiva para nuestros residentes. Phone?
This is Dan Lecto from BizWest Media. President Kennedy, this is a question for you. Can you outline exactly what level of positive cases or any other COVID-related indicator on campus? What levels they would have to be before the system we were shutting down that campus before the fall break on November 26th?
Well, let me just say that there are dashboards in each of our campuses. There are dashboards in each of our campuses that we make available exactly what's going on, and we're working in close contact with the public authorities and the health professionals. There's a myriad of issues that you would need to consider in terms of moving from one level of engagement with students to the next. So I don't know that there's any bright lines, but it does come from making sure that we're keeping close to the facts on the ground, keeping in close contact with public health professionals, and together with them making whatever decisions may be necessary.
Governor, you talked a little bit more today about the need to get people tested. I want to go back and ask this again. Are you worried that there are not enough people getting tested in Colorado right now at the public sites that the state's open?
So we can be more effective in reducing the spread if we know about more of the cases. With the testing where it is and our positivity rate where it is, we are identifying the majority of the cases in Colorado, but there's still a third or more cases that are undiagnosed and unknown, and there's no effects around preventing their contagion. So we are still seeing that 2-3% positivity rate. If we can add, and we have the capacity to do a lot more testing, and so what we really want to do is encourage anybody who's symptomatic to get tested, or if you've been exposed to the virus or think you might have been exposed a week before. By catching an even higher percentage of those cases early, we can have a major effect in reducing the prevalence of the virus in our state, particularly in southern Colorado. We've been focused, I was in Pueblo and Colorado Springs earlier this week. Our positivity rate there has been in the 4 to 5% range. Not necessarily because the viral presence is higher, but because the testing has been lower, meaning that there are more undiagnosed cases that we're not able to do contact tracing on or alert others on. And that's why we're particularly excited to highlight the Citadel Mall Testing Center outside JCPenney in Colorado Springs and the Pueblo County Fairgrounds, which expanded from 3 days to 5 to 6 days a week. For free, quick, and easy testing, in addition to community health clinics, your doctor, or your hospital, where tests are also available. Is there a telephone? Okay. Thank you all for joining us. Have a safe weekend. There'll be time for partying in the future. This is not that time. I know that we can get through this and make sure that this Labor Day weekend 2020 is not a setback for our great state of Colorado. Thank you.